Hello and welcome back. This is the fifth week of the Touch of Life Foundation's virtual volunteer program for the 14 years and older group. My name is Maiden Nasaran and I am the president and co-founder of the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hello, my name is Avni and I'm one of the board members for the Touch of Life Foundation.
My name is Kushan and I'm the co-founder of the Touch of Life Foundation.
Hi, my name is Meghana and I'm also part of the board of directors for the Touch of Life Foundation.
Today, we will be discussing how to make a change, whether it be within your local community or to government officials.
So this is the fifth week of the virtual volunteer program, and today's topic is how we can bring change.
So we can do this by legislation. This is a huge way to make a difference. Talk to your elected officials to encourage them to implement and support laws that have harsher punishments for violators for child trafficking and child labor. When traffickers know there are harsher punishment, it deters some people from engaging in it. Advocate for harsher punishment for the trafficker, not the victim. Ask your congressman or senator to sponsor particular bills that have already been introduced to support the protection of children from child labor and human trafficking. We were successful in approaching Congressman Connolly, who eventually sponsored the CARE Act, which you will see on the next slide. Vote for government officials who have a history of voting for laws that protect children. Write to your federal, state, and local government officials to ask them what they are doing to combat human trafficking so that they know this is a concern for you and other voting citizens. If elected officials know a certain topic is a concern for their voting base, they are more apt to support these bills and laws.
Last summer, Meghna and Kushan spoke to Congressman Jerry Connolly's legislative assistant, Molly Cole. They asked for Congressman Connolly to support the CARE Act bill, which increases the fine for people who use child labor and increases the working age for children on farms. A couple months later, Ms. Cole informed us that he is supporting the bill. We are grateful to have such a great congressman who cares about important issues regarding his community and other communities.
It was an honor meeting Delegate Ibrahim Samira on Friday and talking about implementing a mandatory assembly to be presented to students once a year to learn about human trafficking and child labor. Thank you, Delegate Ibrahim Samira.
So, awareness. Use social media to spread awareness. Social media such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms provide an easy way to spread awareness and educate the public, in addition to giving you the ability to reach audiences around the world. Volunteer and support anti trafficking efforts in your community. You guys have already taken the first step. Join and volunteer in anti trafficking organizations. You can also forward their posts to your social media accounts. For example, the Touch of Life Foundation has Tip Thursday and Random Acts of Kindness every week. These tips can be forwarded to others to help educate them. This takes minimal effort, but it can help spread awareness across a wide variety of audiences. Make your community aware that trafficking does exist in every city. It exists in every community. In fact, Fairfax County in Virginia, where the Touch of Life Foundation operates from, has an extremely high rate of trafficking. Do not shame victims who have been trafficked. Realize that the victims of trafficking did not have a choice. They were forced into it. They were not given the freedom of choices that we have been given. Try to show full support for them and assimilate them back into society.
Join our campaign to advocate for mandatory education on human trafficking in all schools. Our campaign is called Not My Child Campaign. Keep in mind that school-age children are the traffickers' #1 target. Traffickers' #1 venue to lure their victims is the internet, so it is important to start our education with people who are the most targeted and their parents. Learning signs of human trafficking to identify indicators that you might notice in others who have been trafficked. Learning how traffickers lure their victims so you will know how to keep yourself safe, and educating others about trafficking luring techniques. Remember, traffickers often look for vulnerable youth from broken homes, or children looking for attention. They often pose as a person that is a victim that's the victim's age, although they are often much older. Educating yourself and others on internet safety. The internet is the easiest platform traffickers use because they have the ability to reach anyone. Remember to be careful about what you post about yourself online.
Sorry, I just wanted to add something. Someone asked a question if they can join the Not My Child campaign. Yes, of course, we would like as many participants as possible because we want to have a mandatory curriculum once a year in every single school. So yeah, please feel free, talk to your administration in the school and try to advocate and ask them, oh, can we have a mandatory once a year assembly about this? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Learning the indicators, signs of physical abuse. If you see any unexplained bruises or bleeding on multiple occasions, there's a reason to suspect abuse. Inability to speak to alone. Oftentimes, traffickers control their victims and do not allow them to speak to anyone alone. This is their way of exerting control over their victims and making sure the victims cannot give any information. Unusual nervousness or fear. Trafficked victims are often fearful of getting beaten up or subject to other brutal punishments, so they appear to be nervous or have extreme anxiety. Answers seem to be rehearsed. Traffickers try to program their victims on what to say if they are asked questions, so they do not give up any information about the trafficker locations or other information law enforcement can use to track down the culprits. Living with an employer. This is a way to make sure the traffic victim does not have access to talk to anyone else or meet anyone.
This also gives the employer complete control over the victims or living conditions. This is one of the reasons traffic victims might contract diseases because living conditions are often unsanitary. Multiple people in cramped spaces also contribute to unsanitary living condition. Forced sex acts. Prostitution is a very common industry traffic victims are forced into. They are also not given proper protection and often contract sexually transmitted diseases, which are left untreated due to the lack of medical attention given to them. Employer is hiding identity documents. This is so that the victims cannot escape. Traffickers often hold their victims' passport or license. They are also unpaid or paid very little.
So, reporting. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline if you believe someone is a victim of trafficking. Report suspicious activity by calling 911 and the National Human Trafficking Resource Center at 1-888-373-7888 in the United States. Feel free to email us for the resources in your country. Do not hesitate to contact law enforcement even if you're not 100% sure. You could be saving someone's life. Let the authorities do the investigation.
Although buying products that are free from child labor might be slightly more expensive, consider that will be one fewer child who is kept away from their parents. If you avoid buying products produced from child labor, the demand for these products will go down and less child labor will be used. Encourage companies to prevent human trafficking in their supply chains. Visiting the Department of Labor's website that lists products produced from child labor by country.
Another way to make a difference is to raise funds to donate to organizations that help rescue traffic victims. Some organizations have a task force that conducts raids with local law enforcement after they are given leads about where victims are. Help rescue victims of trafficking. Some organizations, like ourselves, will donate money for the psychological rehab of rescued victims. Many of these victims have gone through brutal conditions and need to learn how to trust again, assimilate as a free child, catch up on education that was missed, learn to have fun, and learn to channel their anger to make a positive change in their lives. The Touch of Life Foundation also uses the money to donate books for education, art supplies to help with the psychological rehab, clothes, and shoes. Art is an amazing form of expression for these children, and it is amazing to see all the talent they have. We did a wall of freedom at our last visit to the orphanage, which you will see on the next slide. We have also sponsored a volleyball and basketball court. Sports are also a very important part of psychological rehab. It helps the victim regain trust and teach them they are not alone, not to mention the health benefits. Fundraising also gives nonprofits like us the ability to use social media platforms to reach a wider range of audiences to educate them about human trafficking.
Fundraise for organizations that fight for legislation against human trafficking and that help bring awareness about the issues of human trafficking like the Touch of Life Foundation does.
So volunteering. Volunteer work helps others learn about problems that are going on and allows people to help with the cause at the same time. Volunteering for nonprofits is one of the most effective volunteer works. This is also a great way to earn service hours that are needed for high school. Monetary donations are also a great way to support others. Any amount of donations helps an organization significantly. But for those who are unable to donate, any of the volunteer work listed on the slide is just as helpful. Social media is another great way to spread awareness, reaching hundreds of people at a time. Encourage others to also spread awareness about child trafficking on their social media platforms. The more people hear about this problem, the better. Hosting a viewing of documentaries about child labor is a great way to spread awareness about child labor and human trafficking. There are many free movies online and on YouTube that go in depth and explain a lot about human trafficking and child trafficking. Some examples of these movies are The Price of Free from the Kailash Satyarthi Foundation and Chowki.
Businesses offer internships to rescue victims to train them on certain skills which they may have lost while they were being trafficked. Some skills include communication, teamwork, and leadership. Businesses can have programs that train and hire victims of trafficking. This is where businesses and managers can offer training to these rescued victims to make themselves more marketable to get a better job in the future. Donate your services or items to shelters of rescued victims to help them become independent. Once these victims of trafficking get rescued, they will need to get back on their own 2 feet.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you guys all for joining today, and we hope to see you guys next week. Have a great week. Thank you guys.